Welcome back. Now we get to think about the third cycle of these dialogues in chapters 22 through 31. I think if we were able to watch the video of this dialogue, we'd see Eliphaz losing his pastoral smile and his indirect approach, and he really gets personal. Look at chapter 22, verses 4 and following. Is it for your fear of him that he reproves you and enters into judgment with you? Is not your evil abundant? There's no end to your iniquities. Which Eliphaz bolsters then with an impressive list of accusations. Now, his stated concern is for Job's spiritual well-being. And he just implores Job to fess up and make things right with God. Toward the end of the chapter there, and Job responds in chapters 23 and 24. He explains that he surely feels that he's just groping about in a fog. Look at chapter 23, verse 8 and 9. He says, I can't see God in this pit I find myself in. But don't miss verse 10. While I can't see God, I know he sees me. Don't you love it? He knows the way I take when he has tried me. I shall come out as gold. Then in chapter 24, Job reflects on an important facet of his trials, and he comes away with a philosophical perspective on equality that's diametrically opposed to the take that's prominent in postmodern North America. Equality of outcome is a pipe dream. Much as in Genesis, judgment didn't immediately fall on the peoples of Canaan. In God's grace, it was held off for 4 centuries. You see, life isn't fair in a fallen world. Well, Bildad chimes in chapter 25, and he keeps it brief. Just a recap. It's the shortest chapter of the book, but no comfort for Job here. And Zophar's gone for coffee. So Job's reply in chapter 26 through 31 starts out with, well, thanks a lot, you guys. You've been a great help. See, Job knows God's power and his own integrity, and he's determined to press on to know God and to gain wisdom. 28:28. Behold, the fear of the Lord, that's wisdom. To turn away from evil is understanding. Job yearns for the good old days when God watched over me, when the friendship of God was over my tent, chapter 29, before this sad state of affairs overtook him. Chapter 30. And then in chapter 31, he again pleads for justice. Well, 3 cycles of conversation have come to a close. In the next 6 chapters, 32 to 37, a new character, young Elihu, comes from the sidelines and steps on stage and offers a monologue. Clearly, Elihu is agitated, but he demonstrates a humility that eluded the previous life coaches. Elihu suggests that there may be another explanation in Job's painful experience other than punishment. You see, not all disciplinary action is punitive. Instruction and training and conditioning are just as much disciplinary actions. Just think of Paul's statement of the purpose of Scripture: teaching, reproof, correction, training in righteousness. Well, Job's been wanting to hear from God, 33:13, and Elihu suggests that God does reveal himself by various means: dreams, visions, audible voices, and Elihu adds pain. Elihu rebuts Job's charge that God's not just. 34:12. Of a truth, God will not do wickedly, and the Almighty will not pervert justice. To the contrary, God says to a king, worthless one, to nobles, wicked man. He shows no partiality to princes, nor regards the rich more than the poor, for they're all the work of his hands. 34:18 and 19. He rebuts Job's charge that God must not care, so what difference does it make whether a person is righteous, 34:5, or delights in God, 34:9? No, Elihu argues. Hard times can be teachable moments. Look at verses 32 to 34. Teach me what I do not see. If I have done iniquity, I will do it no more. Will he then make repayment to suit you because you reject it? For you must choose, and not I. Therefore declare what you know. See, Elihu points out the error of Job's apparent assertion that he's more righteous than God. Do you say my righteousness is more than God's? Verse 2 of chapter 35. He argues that at times when God seems distant and not listening, it might well be because of human pride. Verse 12. Look at verse 13. Surely God does not hear an empty cry, nor does the Almighty regard it. Elihu affirms that God is both strong and wise, 36:5, and verses 6 and 7. He doesn't keep the wicked alive, but gives the afflicted their right. He doesn't withdraw his eyes from the righteous, but with kings on the throne he sets them forever, and they are exalted. Well, he concludes his monologue in chapter 37, around verse 23. The Almighty, we cannot find him. He is great in power. Justice and abundant righteousness he will not violate. Therefore men fear him. He does not regard any who are wise in their own conceit. Think about that. We'll see in a bit.